Hi there. Thank you for listening to These Kids Are Royalty, an apostolic children's ministry podcast. I'm your host, Marilee Locke, and for the first episode of season 2, I am also the guest. Or rather, this episode you're stuck with just me. I thought I would take this opportunity to share a bit about who I am, the vision of this podcast, and some other projects I have in the works that I hope will be a benefit to you and your local ministry. So let's dive in. As mentioned, I'm Marilee. If you're listening and you don't know me personally, first, wow, welcome. And secondly, thank you. I am from St. John, New Brunswick, and I attend Mission Point Church under the capable direction of Pastor Brent Carter. I have been blessed for the last 4 years to work in full-time ministry here as well. Of course, like any story, mine doesn't just start with where I am. Mine actually starts in a small little church on a hill called Grand Rapids. When I was a child, preschool age, I attended a vibrant and young church. I can remember sitting in the basement in a giant group of students for some type of award or grading ceremony and yearning to be part of the youth group. There were so many of them, and I thought they were so cool. But like most stories, humanity happened. The first situation directly influenced my peers, taking away the only other child that was exactly my age, and I remember her even switching schools. The second took a lot more people and left our church as a whole very, very small. Our Sunday school, even smaller. The majority of my classroom memories include my brother as my consistent classmate and my mother and my aunt as the teachers. There were a few other students sprinkled in here and there, but it was basically Evan and I in a classroom with teddy bears and hot air balloons on the wallpaper border. That being said, I look back fondly on my experience, and by the time I was 13, we had a vibrant and growing church once again. My parents, my pastor, and my aunt, who was the Sunday school director, were integral in the beginning of my involvement in church work. I was only 13 or so when I was given my first Sunday school class. The cutest group of 4-year-olds you ever did see. My classroom was the Sunday school office, and I remember my first Pentecostal Publishing House curriculum packet. It was fall because all new things start in September or January, and I made the first of many classroom decor pieces. It was a Bristol board sign with dollar store leaves on it that read, "Falling in Love with Jesus." I was ready to take on the world. Naturally, making creative posters and loving office supplies does not insinuate you will make a great teacher, but we all have humble beginnings. There were many more designs and much more elaborate ones that followed. There were walls with a heart and the beat that went all the way around, and there was a paint theme that had homemade splattered drop cloths in very specific colors, and a school theme where I found school desks and changed the room. Of course, those desks were ridiculously wide and didn't work in the way I envisioned, but I went for it. That's a lot of who I am, ridiculously over the top in the details. But I'll stop there, because I'm sure you're not interested in a walk down someone else's memory lane, so I'll save you and move on. During those formative teen years, into my Bible college years, and early 20s, I volunteered in a variety of capacities at my home church. My pastor involved me greatly and continued to open doors and opportunities for me. I spent years sitting in the small booth, which I dubbed the box, and then the larger one, running the service lyrics and soundboard every service. The program may not even exist these days that I used, but I was quick on the keyboard and could have songs on the screen within the first line or two. Of course, this was long before people thought to write down their song list and hand it to the production team. Actually, it was long before we would have called it a production team. I was also the youth leader for a few years, and I have fond memories of that time as well. I loved those kids in that role. As the youngest adult female in the church, I also led the ladies group for a while. They humored me, all those sweet old ladies, with my love for theme nights and my very short devotions. The final ministry I remember being so humbled to be asked to care for was the planning committee. At some point, my pastor had decided to put together a team of people to put on the church events, and he asked me to head up that committee. I was so young, 21, 22, but the group was so great, and they were so willing to work with me and allow me to lead. I do not take it lightly that I have been far more blessed than one could ever imagine in what could have been a very lonely existence as a young Christian, and so loved. I was so loved. Outside of that church, I have experienced a 4-month AIM trip to a wonderful little island nation called Vanuatu. I have spent somewhere in the vicinity of 15 years working on the staff team at a youth camp, which I have retired from. And during my years living in Halifax, I spent a few years working in early childhood education, volunteered in Sunday school, and of course, took up ASL English interpreting, which is also what I hold as a college degree and how I ended up in St. John, New Brunswick 10 years ago. I came for the job, an educational interpreter in this K-12 system, and stayed because of the community. In what was planned to be a 1-year stopover for experience in my career, the church that I am privileged to still attend quickly became home, and I love the path that God has directed me through. So alas, here we are. I've worked at Mission Point as an employee for 4 years, and as we began January 2025, I transitioned from being responsible for media and production with a side of Kidman to full-time MP Kids Director. I will tell you, it is not lost on me how incredible it is that I get to do this and how fortunate I am. It is so far beyond where I could have ever imagined or would have even dreamed, and I am thankful. Speaking of dreams, since now you know who I am ministry-wise and my background, let's talk about why this podcast exists. I am a listener of podcasts. I absolutely love them, and the only problem I have is not being able to keep up with all the ones that I want to listen to. I also absolutely love working in the avenue of children's ministries, and when looking for podcasts, there are some good ones, but there were not a lot of apostolic children's ministries podcasts. I do believe there may be another, but for a long time, there truly was none. And my personality is simply this: I want this. I wish I had this. I think I can make it happen, or I think I can fix it. And that's the beginning of most things I've ever been involved in. This dream was discussed for a long time before I finally took the leap, but here we are. Last year wasn't all I wanted it to be, but it was a start. And here we are in season 2, hoping to improve and elevate what we started. To give you an idea of the goal I have, let me quickly read to you the vision statement I have created to help me produce dedicated content with a specific purpose each month. These Kids Are Royalty podcasts exist to educate, support, and encourage those in children's ministry from an apostolic perspective. It endeavors to provide resources, first-person experiences, and a variety of voices from around the world to speak into the lives of volunteers and leaders and to influence their ministries. We believe that the children we are privileged to serve are royalty. They are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that they should show forth the praise of him who hath called them out of darkness and into his marvelous light. We are not babysitting students to give parents a break for worship. We are discipling the youngest members of the kingdom of God. We see the hand of God in their lives, and we believe they're going somewhere. We are preparing them for greatness. We are training them to assume their identity as children of the King of Kings. These kids are royalty, and we are getting them ready for the palace. My target audience are those working in children's ministry. You and I have a beautiful responsibility. We have a tough job. We are necessary. We are called, and we have to be intentional. And I think today we have to be intentional about being intentional. We have to be learning and improving. We should be networking and sharing ideas, and we need to think outside the box. That's why this podcast exists. I do not have all the answers. I am one person, one country bumpkin, who is incredibly honored to be in the place she is and wants to keep learning, connecting, and sharing ideas. I think if I ask the questions publicly, we can all learn. And if I record the conversations, it becomes a resource. Also, I'm not perfect, no matter how much it kills me not to accomplish things 100%. The first season of this podcast was only half the amount of episodes that I wish to record. Well, actually, I had recorded one more, but I even messed that one up tech-wise. Yet, out of the episodes, I was able to get new ideas, and so did several listeners. I was able to improve some of my programming based on others' experiences, and one of our interviewees had mentioned teaching personal Bible studies to her students. It seems so simple, but I had never thought about offering that option to kids. You always think of it more as one on one adults. Just a few weeks after that episode recorded, I had a student asking about baptism. We chatted for a few minutes, and I offered him and his parents a Bible study on that topic. After 3 or 4 lessons of me sitting down with him and his brother, they both decided to be baptized in Jesus' name. And so I don't know how you measure success, but that was the best possible outcome. And I felt like it was a successful season to me. And it feels like a good enough reason to start with season 2. There is more to learn, greater things to do, and lots to share. That being said, let's talk about season 2 and the future of These Kids Are Royalty. I have at least, side note, these are goals, not promises. I have at least 5 more episodes planned for you this year. I can think of other topics I would like to dive into, but I'm starting there. If you have a topic you'd like to hear more about or a person you'd like to hear an interview done with, feel free to leave a comment. It may be something or someone that has not crossed my mind. My plans include talking to another children's director, another district director to discuss planning a kids camp, a veteran teacher, a curriculum writer, a missionary, and more. Additionally, I want to add vlogging to my repertoire. This will be on YouTube. However, as I work and create resources, I plan to take you along with me. My favorite vloggers are those that share their routines and processes, and I have yet to find a channel that is doing this from a children's ministry perspective in a way that I enjoy. So, as I previously mentioned, for better or for worse, I'll try and fix it. I'm just conceited enough to assume that if I want it, someone else may want it too. So I plan to take you, well, those of you who are interested, to work with me at least once a month and vlog a process. I have thought of different programs and routines that I do or am responsible for that I think could be a benefit to others. I have my first one ready to go. I created a simple volunteer appreciation gift for my staff that I'm going to be sharing with you, and it will be out soon. I hope that all of these vlogs will be informative, helpful, and I hope that if you do things differently or have ideas connected, that you will share those with me too. Finally, you will find that I have officially opened a website, thesekidsareroyalty.com, and some of the resources and things I have made over the years will be available for purchase and download there. It will be slow as most everything I have created needs a little bit of work to be ready for others. Friends and family have often encouraged me to sell my creations, and so I'm going to give it a try. If it'll benefit your ministry and the students you're leading, then they are right. I should. Everything will be affordable and as much as possible editable. My focus is these kids and that every one of them make heaven their eternal home. Honestly, I just see a need and I hope that I can meet it in some capacity. With that being said, if you have creative resources, especially curriculum, and you're interested in publishing it, contact me. I see These Kids Are Royalty being far greater than just I. These are just goals, the trajectory, and where we're at with These Kids Are Royalty, and a bit of history about me. The last topic that I think that would be beneficial to discuss today is what MP Kids looks like. Mission Point has a statement that says, so that all may know the way, the truth, and experience full life. That's our mission. For MP Kids, our mission is so that every child may know the way, the truth, and experience full life. We are a church for everyone, and we are a space for every kid. It's that simple. We are not a subsidiary, we are a continuance, and we are focused on carrying out the common mission for all ages. We have 2 weekly programs. Sunday mornings, we have Bible teaching based on ages and grades. We start at 18 months and we go to 18 years. MP Kids is responsible for the programming for all of those ages. We open for drop-offs at 9:45 a.m. and programming runs from 10 to 10:45 when pickup begins, and we all join together in the main sanctuary for our 11 a.m. morning worship service. We have 7 classes. We go from toddlers, preschoolers, K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, middle school, and high school. Attendance-wise, we have just over 100 on our list. We tend to average around 75 to 85 weekly. We run Pentecostal Publishing House curriculum for most of the year during this time frame for elementary and down. For middle and high school, It's often dictated by student interest, discussions, and it's really up to the teachers. During our midweek, which is Wednesdays, we have a kids program as well. For years, it had only been 4 to 11-year-olds, but a few months ago, we changed the range to be 18 months to 11 years, and it has been amazing. We have 40 plus kids on our list, and that is the average attendance. We just went from 2 classrooms to adding a third to accommodate for the age range because it's been incredible. Curriculum wise, it's a bit all over the place, kind of in a good way. So, the preschool areas, we are playing through the Bible right now and doing basic crafts and sensory activities with short stories. So, we started in Genesis, and right now, I know going into this week, they'll be gluing colored strips of paper on a coat for Joseph. So, in our older elementary group, we just finished a summer program that we actually combined with our Sunday mornings over the summer. So there was one lesson every Sunday and every Wednesday from the same program. We actually did a curriculum that I personally prepared based on the song That's Who I Praise by Brandon Lake. We did lessons from each of the lyrical lines to bring understanding to what we're singing, since it's so full of great stories about the God we praise. We also use that song as our anthem for back to school. I'm a lot more hands-on during Wednesdays and more of a director on Sundays, except for in the summer. I also did a lot of the Sunday teaching because vacations. Also, from October to June, we have Bible quizzing on Friday nights before prayer service, and that is also my responsibility. I have been coaching for 7 seasons now, and I think I'm finally getting it. I wasn't a quizzer, so it has taken a lot of research, learning, and asking questions to feel semi-confident, which is where I'm at about now. We just held our sign-up session last week, and we have 26 committed quizzers for the upcoming season. Just so you know, that's wild. I am thrilled to be working through Apostolic Doctrine with my students, and I'm still figuring out how we're going to practice and handle all of that. So you'll likely hear a bit more about that ministry too. Throughout the year, we generally have a VBS. We do a Christmas program or musical. We have introduced squad days this year, which I will explain at some point fully, but we group outside of the ages, and it's a great opportunity to connect outside of your grade with other students. It's also, we will have special kids services that day upstairs, and squads are the theme we use for VBS this year. We actually called it Squad Olympics, but it kind of really solidified our squads or our teams. We have today's Christian girl and boy groups who happen bi-monthly, so they rotate months. And we do try to do other fun events like Nerfs and Nachos, planning pancakes with Pastor during Pastor Appreciation Month, and Parents' Night Out, and more. So that kind of should give you a rough idea of my current experience. Now, the disclaimer. I am not a perfect director. Actually, I am quite incompetent in a variety of areas. I am slowly building teams and learning how to be a good leader. But I am not hosting this podcast and creating this ministry because I'm qualified. Truthfully, it's very possibly the opposite. I'm clumsy and imperfect. I'm a bit scatterbrained, and I am a creative, which is a fancy word for a messy worker. Yet, I'm doing it. I'm doing my best and trying to improve daily. I'm inviting you to come along because you're doing it too. Iron sharpens iron, and these kids are worth it. We are investing in royalty. I'm going to wind this down because I've shared enough. I hope it's given you a decent introduction to me and to season 2, and I hope you'll come back for the next episode. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of These Kids Are Royalty. The goal of this podcast is to educate, support, and encourage those in children's ministries from an apostolic perspective. If you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and consider sharing it with someone in ministry with you. You can find and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at These Kids Are Royalty to stay up to date about upcoming episodes. And to you, yes, you, I want you to know that you are amazing. You are called to disciple the youngest members of the kingdom of God. You are preparing these kids for greatness. You are training these kids to embrace their identity as children of the King of Kings, because these kids are royalty.